Women Leadership Series. I'm Jess, an investment manager with Albion, and I'm joined by our talent director, Jane.
So great to be here.
Yes. In celebration of International Women's Day, Jane and I are hosting a series of conversations with the female founders and CEOs in the AlbionVC family. And we're so pleased to have Rachel, the founder and CEO of Koru Kids, with us now. So today we sort of plan to pick your brain a bit, Rachel, on being a CEO and move in then to a sort of quick fire round of would you rather questions about you and your leadership style. So we have a bit of fun with it. I do have to do a brief intro about you because you've got such an impressive background and your company is doing so well. But you're originally from New Zealand and came to the UK as a Rhodes Scholar, getting a PhD in international development from Oxford. You were in strategy consulting with McKinsey for several years, and then went on to become your first CEO role as the head of the world's largest online doctor service, Dr. Tom. In 2017, you founded Koru Kids, which is a matching platform for finding and managing childcare. So tackling one of the most difficult issues that I think that we face in a city like London or a country like the UK. So AlbionVC invested in your seed fundraising in 2018, and the business has gone on to scale dramatically and raised a Series A round led by Atomico. So now that I've bragged about your career a little bit, I'd love to hear in your own words, why you decided to found your business.
Yeah, so I always wanted to do a startup. I've always been interested in business my whole life. I don't know why. My parents are both teachers. I didn't come from an entrepreneurial background at all. But I always kind of had my eyes open for what I was going to do. And it took me a really long time to have the idea that became Koru Kids. And I played around with lots of different ideas. When I was at McKinsey, I was there for 6 years. And I had many terrible ideas. And for every time I had them, I would kind of do lots of research and get into it and be excited. And then I would always find the fatal flaw, or I would kind of burn out and go off it. And it was when I had my baby, when I was doing my first CEO role, that I started realizing what an unsolved problem childcare was. And unlike the other ideas where I kind of flamed out and went off them, this one, it was like the flame just grew and has never gone out. And, I started hearing these stories. It was like suddenly noticing all of these things and putting them together and realizing that the system was just so broken from almost every direction. So my friends, I was hearing just this drip of stories about how they couldn't afford it. They had to leave London. They had to move their mum in when they didn't want to. They, couldn't afford to have another kid. Partners, like couples, friends of mine who I'd been at university with, one by one, I saw the woman just taking such a big step back in her career. When I knew them at university, I knew that she was actually better at university than he was. And this just enraged me. So I started seeing all this stuff. And then as I looked more in and beyond just my friends, I started understanding how hard it is for people who work in that industry as well. It's it's very hard work, but it's often lonely. It's low paid. It's not respected as it should be. And I started just seeing that childcare is essential infrastructure for our lives, but it's not respected in the way that infrastructure normally should be. I see it like trains or roads. I see it as essential infrastructure, and it's just broken and neglected. And so that's why I decided initially, I thought, well, I'll look around and see who's solving this problem. And I couldn't believe it that no one was working on this problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I love, first of all, I love the analogy to infrastructure. I think
yes, me too. Oh, and how real it is. Like for someone with a child, it's like, yes.
And I love the description sort of that sustaining passion, right? You found a problem that was keeping you going all the time, as opposed to, issues that you got excited about and then found a fatal flaw. That's I feel like that's elucidates what it takes. Can you tell us a bit about what were some of the most unexpected things you found sort of in your first weeks as a founder?
Well, my style is to be very sort of structured and minimize risk and be very, very deliberate. And so I set myself a quite clear task before I quit my job to work on Koru Kids full time. And it was, I made a website. I just used Squarespace. I'm not technical at all. And it was just me. I don't have a co-founder. So I used Squarespace and I just put up a proposition. It was very textbook, like lean startup, put it up and see what happens. And I set myself a goal of if I can get 30 families who I don't know to sign up to this proposition, which looked real, then I feel like that's like, they're not crazy, and I'll quit my job and do this. And in the first week, I got like none, one or something. And I thought, oh, well, that's fine. I didn't invest too much time in that. Like, good thing I didn't, take that seriously, quit my job. And then I remember I was trying out all sorts of different marketing channels, and I with Facebook groups and stuff. And I hit upon a channel, but I was doing all sorts of things. And then I went to go and see my friend for lunch, and I had put my real phone number on there because I was like, I thought, well, I want to be talking to these customers. And I was at lunch and my phone rang, and it was someone who just signed up and said, oh, I want to sign up for your thing. And I was like, well, okay, well, can I call you back? And went back to lunch, and then my phone rang again, and I was like, this is weird, same thing. Can I call you back later? And my phone kept ringing, and I had found just before I'd gone to lunch, I had accidentally, unknowingly, not accidentally, but unknowingly, I had hit upon the right wording and the right channel. Yeah. And so I went back and I had loads of signups. Wow. And easily surpassed the target that I'd hit myself. So on the Friday of the second week, I quit my job and decided to found Koru Kids.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love that taking the leap when you're getting that that initial pickup. That's amazing. Reflecting sort of on your journey since those early days when it was just you and Squarespace, what do you think the biggest change in yourself has been?
I think the biggest like subject knowledge change has been around product. That has been the biggest, but my biggest like professional journey, as opposed to, I'll say the personal one as well, because that's probably what you were asking. But the professional one is that I have had to learn a lot. I've been able to get away with not really learning the tech side, because it's too much of a mountain for me to climb. Like, it's not obvious what it would add. I would think I would probably destroy value in my company by devoting time to it. But product is more doable, and therefore it's easier for me to do it wrong. It's like I really have to know it, and that has been the hardest thing. Professionally, personally speaking, the biggest change in me has been I have become a really firm member of the founder community in London, and I basically do my whole job through the founder community. I mean, I am basically just a conduit for like other people's advice, which I then implement. That's my natural style is whenever I have a problem, I always assume that, I'm not the first person in the history of time to have this problem. That is almost always true. And then, so I go and find out the answer, and very often it's from the founder community. And then I just come back and like slightly tweak it and implement it. And I believe that a hell of a lot of the value of Koru Kids is in doing that thousands of times, like literally every day, and then the accumulation of all these best practices becomes something magical that no one's ever done before. But in so doing, and in being part of this founder community, like, I just freaking love them. Like, it is the most generous, kind, like, full of weirdos. I mean, really, like, a lot of extreme characters, which I love. It's fascinating. But so supportive. And I think that's because being a founder is really freaking tough. And, I'm a sole founder. It is mentally tough. And so because of that, it's a bit like, I imagine if you're in the military, you kind of bond through adversity. We bond through adversity. And so the personal growth has come from just getting so much out of that and being really inspired like by the humanity of that community.
That's fantastic. I love that sort of you unexpectedly sort of found your tribe. In this community, and also the sort of the value of knowing you're not alone in it, and you can get advice from other people. You don't need to you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. That's really helpful. As you're going through that adversity that is the sort of sole founder experience, what do you think? What would you say your sort of superpowers are that are driving you through?
I would say definitely persistence and resilience. Like just really not giving up on stuff. And when I hire people, I think that so what I always say for any role we hire into Koru Kids, people need to have three core qualities, which is they're humble, they're smart, and they're kind. And I think when you build a team where every single person is those three things, it becomes somewhere very magical. And so humble means you don't know everything, you're wondering whether you really know anything, and you're constantly open to like learning stuff. You're like a sponge, and that is the trajectory of a startup. Like you have to have that, right? But it's like a lot of people aren't that, and so that's why you have to have that. Smart is kind of obvious, and then kind is about like generosity and stuff, and doing things for the tribe rather than yourself, and being really mission driven. And so I think, your question is about me, but I think I value all of those three things. Mm-hmm. And because I deeply value all of those three things, I think I've kind of created that culture, which is very strong and very effective in terms of performance, but also just a joy. Like it's just literally what I want to do every day is be in that environment.
That's fantastic. I love that really clear vision of sort of what you want to see in your team and in your organization, and then building that, and then it becomes more, as you say, joyous over time because you've all sort of found each other and found the mission, which is quite cool. We were also thinking, an important part of the CEO role is, the ability to prioritize and make sort of firm decisions. So, as you've grown and as you've been in the role, how do you think about saying yes versus saying no?
It's so hard. I think it's very common founder flaw to want to do everything. And I think it's because, it's quite normal that you have this enormous vision. Like if you didn't have an enormous vision, then you wouldn't get backing and like investment and stuff. So everyone has this enormous vision, and you're always impatient. Like these are just normal qualities. And so therefore you want to do everything at once. And it's the hardest thing in the world to say to yourself, like let alone to other people. Like it's self-management of no, we can't. And so, you do occasionally hear about founders who are really good at ruthlessly prioritizing, and I wish I was, but more often I think it has been the role of other people in the company who I've hired specifically to do that. Like, in fact, I just had this conversation with my chief product officer literally this week. We're in the midst of a big strategic thing. And as usual, we have a million things we want to do. And, we're excited about all of them and we have to choose. And I said to him, Manish, I need you. And the way I described it was, I said, I am going to be a funnel. This is just what's going to happen. I'm going to get excited about lots of things. I need you to be the narrow part of the funnel. That's what I need you to do. And I feel like as long as you have those conversations, hopefully, the right thing ends up. I think a lot of this is empowering people in your team, like including the very most junior person to speak up and say no, because very often it's the engineers or it's the product managers who are thinking we're doing too much, we're context switching too much. And you have to create an environment where they can say that.
Yeah. I think that's important to have it through the organization, like everybody, as you say, feeling empowered to manage themselves and complement each other that way. One final question for me. We've spoken a lot about, what you look for in your colleagues. Can you identify sort of a couple of strengths that would make the perfect kind of wing woman or wing man to you? Like, what makes you more effective?
Yeah, I think my COO and I have a very strong partnership, and it's very complementary. So I tend to do pretty much all of the external facing stuff because I really enjoy it. He doesn't do any of it. He's much more internal facing, and we have we both really agree and align on what kind of culture we want to produce. But he does more of the actual doing of it. And he does more of the like day-to-day trading metrics and stuff. And he also does, he's wonderful at finance. So he also does a lot more of the finance. I can kind of understand it, but I definitely can't do it to the same level as him.
Amazing. It's a brilliant segue, actually, because it strikes me that, well, in my 25 years anyway, of watching startups to grow and watching leaders emerge throughout the startup journey or the scale-up journey, you're trying to do, it's like leadership amped, trying to do three things at once: build the company and get product market fit, and solve this previously unsolved problem. You're also, to your point with your COO, trying to craft this leadership dynamic and the team and the culture. And especially, I mean, you're not a first-time founder, but even still, if you are a first-time founder and even a second or third-time founder, you're working on crafting your own leadership style. So in this next section, I'd love to play basically one of my favorite games, which is that, that hard choice. If you can only choose one, which would you rather? So would you rather, first of all, hire, you kind of mentioned it before, but I'm going to ask it anyway, hire for high IQ or EQ, if you can only choose one?
You might be surprised to say that I'm going to answer IQ. Yeah. What I've already said might lead you to think that I would say EQ, but I have a belief that bad behavior is encouraged by bad systems and processes. And I think there are, am I meant to be giving a short answer because I have a long answer?
Yeah, go for it.
I have this theory, which is like, there's a kind of normal distribution of like toxic behavior.
Yeah.
And there are people who will behave well in any environment. In a good environment or a toxic environment, they will always behave well. And there are people who will behave badly in any environment. Whether it's a good environment, they'll find a way to be toxic, or a bad one, they'll really go to town, right? But then there's a mass of people in the middle who will be swayed by their environment. So if they're in a great environment that is well designed to reward bad behavior and to reward good behavior and punish bad behavior, then they will behave in positive collaborative ways. And the opposite, if they find themselves in a toxic workplace, they will adopt those things and they'll end up themselves like being bad. So what my kind of core theory is that the first hires are critical to make sure that you have the good systems, and you really have to think about the systems and processes that you design so that you're the good place. And then once you're that, like, you can kind of relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you can start to bring in people who like are in that middle, and they will behave well because they'll land and they'll realize, oh, right, this is a place where we thank each other all the time and we don't self-promote. And like, it's not political. And if you act in a political way, people will look at you weirdly, and like you'll just be like expelled from the thing. And they sort of realize all this stuff. So that's the reason that I would say I do, is because I think we're at this place where you actually don't need super high EQ anymore.
So it's just about smarts then. You need to be smart enough to be able to kind of drive through the psychological
momentum. I could only have one.
Yeah, I did. Right.
Obviously, okay. I would like both.
Next, these are going to get harder as they go, right? So would you rather get things done or get things right?
Done.
Done. Okay. Okay, let me move on because that was pretty final and I agree with that. It's just impossible, right? You cannot get things perfect all the time. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
I mean, I don't think I can get anything perfect anymore.
No. Would you rather hit your numbers and mistrust your team, or have mistrust in the team, or trust your team but miss your numbers?
Trust team, miss numbers, because one is just short term. We're in here for the long game, not the short term.
Yeah. And it's so easy though, isn't it, to get fixated on especially through the investor collaboration, right? You've got to hit the number, otherwise you don't get through the gate. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So, would you rather be infectiously persuasive or analytically decisive?
That's a hard one. Externally infectiously persuasive, internally analytically. I think genuinely, I think that's what we are.
Okay, that's.
I think that also reflects. I just said that I'm external and my COO is internal. That is literally our strengths. He's extremely decisive and extremely analytical, whereas I am extremely enthusiastic.
Yeah, boom. Isn't that a brilliant insight, though, to know how to cast appropriately? Love that.
That's really funny. Yeah.
Love that. So would you rather see the big picture or solve problems?
Solve problems.
Tell me why.
Strange dichotomy. Because see, the big picture is sort of doesn't imply any action. It implies it's sort of academic.
Yeah.
Whereas I get up every day to do stuff.
Yeah, amazing. Okay. How about this? Would you rather have inconsistent creative genius in your team or accountability and consistent results if you could only have one?
We have at times had each. So I'm thinking of specific people for each of those.
Yeah.
And I think as a whole, we get more with accountability and consistency.
Yeah.
When we have these sparks, for a time, you kind of take a little jump, but overall, I think you will move faster when it's a consistency and accountability.
Is your reflection that there's a staging, like the sort of the stage of growth when it's more appropriate if you were, in advising or inspiring others?
Yeah, I think sometimes you need to take some intuitive leaps, but even then, I kind of like I said at the start, like I am very much one for like best practices, and I think intuitive leaps are often less. I don't know. That saying, like success is 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. I just believe in that. I think it is mostly about consistent execution.
Yeah. So you make your own luck, in other words.
Yeah. Okay,
amazing. So here's the would you rather on you, sharing some secrets of what goes on inside your head. Would you rather, quick fire round, so no particular pro, but would you rather learn a new spoken language or a new computer language?
Spoken language.
Spoken language. Oh, I can't resist. Why is that?
One follow-up. Which one, Rachel?
Yeah, which one? Yeah.
Oh man, that is a hard one. Which one? My undergrad degree was linguistics. I love learning languages. One of the happiest times of my life was when I lived in Guatemala and was learning Spanish. And I would absolutely love to. Lots of languages. I find it hard to choose.
Okay.
I have tried learning to code. I did really, really, really enjoy that too. I think I would enjoy both, but my background is more spoken language.
Yeah, amazing. How about this? Would you rather be poor and work at a job you love, or rich and work at a job you hate?
Oh, poor, definitely. 100%.
Yeah. Life's too short, right? You only get one go.
Yeah, exactly. You only get one.
Would you rather have a pause button on your life if you could, or a rewind, a do-over?
A pause, definitely. There's very little I would rewind, unless it's to rewind and like enjoy it again. But like in terms of do-over, like change, no. I think that's quite common that people, like everything has led me to where I am now.
Yeah.
But a pause, particularly because I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, I would love to have a pause button in my day. I'd love to pause right now, go out and play with them for half an hour and then come back. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah. It's a constant tension. Oh, well said. Feel it. How about this? Would you rather never get angry or never be envious?
I'd rather never be envious. I'm not an angry person. I very rarely, I don't know, I can't remember the last time I've been angry. It might be like a year ago or something. But I do get envious, definitely. And I do this thing where I kind of consolidate all the different wonderful bits of, with other companies. Yes. I kind of consolidate them in my head into this one stellar company where the revenue's growing really, really fast and the margins are amazing and the culture's incredible and the mission's really great and the brand is incredible and the social media profile. And then I kind of forget that every company has its pros and cons and, it's light and dark sides.
Yeah, that's right. And there is just no perfect, but yours is pretty good. Love that.
Yeah.
How about this? Would you rather be funnier than you are or smarter than you are?
Funnier. Because I try to do that every day, but I don't try to be smarter every day.
I know, me too. I know, I don't win any prizes on the funny either. Would you never age? Would you rather never age or never need sleep to function?
Definitely never need sleep.
Sleep to function.
I don't mind aging. I am not scared of that, but never need sleep. That would be magic. That is a bit like a pause button.
Yeah, it's like a magic thing, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'm not sure with me. I think I'm not sure I like getting older. Now I'm there and getting older. How about this? Would you rather die in 20 years with no regrets or live to 100 with lots of them?
Oh, that is a really hard one. Probably die in 20 years with no regrets. I don't really want to die in 20 years, but if I did die, if I literally died today, it would be okay. I mean, it wouldn't be okay. I've got young kids, but I've lived up till now. I have lived a great life. And so the 20 years one.
Amazing. Would you rather be in the history books for something really terrible or completely forgotten after you die?
Completely forgotten, definitely.
I can't remember why. Yeah, tell me why.
I think I can't remember where I read this, but it was it was an incredible podcast with Johnny Wilkinson. Johnny Wilkinson said this in this amazing podcast. He said that we nowadays defer what's it called? Deferring payback. I can't remember what it's called. For so long, and you kind of work through, you work at school, you work at university, you work in your job, and you kind of constantly, gratification is the word I'm looking for, you're constantly delaying gratification.
Yeah.
And he said, even worse is when you think about your legacy, because then you're delaying gratification till after you're dead. Really, and the point he was making is you literally never really live. You never you never get to the point where you're living now. And that, when he said that made me think differently about legacy. And it made me, instead of thinking of legacy as this wonderful thing, I started thinking of it as actually a bit of a millstone, a bit of a psychological millstone, because I think he's right. Yeah. And, while I am very motivated to build Koru Kids into something which lasts for ages, I want to not do that because of my own legacy. That's not the reason. The reason is because it in and of itself should be helping people, and that's really cool. And so therefore, almost my aim should be to die with no one and be completely forgotten, because anything else, I think, doesn't let me live in the now in the way that I would want to.
Yeah. And as you say, he's an absolute exponent of your value of humility and frankly, really inspiring. Really inspiring. Thank you.
Anyway, just to wrap things up, we sort of like to conclude on sort of a note of advice or wisdom. So when you look back at your journey, what sort of advice might you give to your younger self, given everything you've learned?
The thing that I think I maybe could have done a bit earlier was plug into the founder community. Because I can't overstate how important it's been, practically and emotionally, psychologically, everything. And so it's always the thing that I tell people, I talk to a lot of people who are starting out, and it's a consistent thing that I say to them, like get your people around you. And so I think I would have said that to my younger self as well.
Well, just for the people listening to that, because it's really inspiring and yet practical, like 1, 2, 3, or step 1, 2, 3, and how you do that. What was that for you?
Do you know, it's very hard in the pandemic, because the way I did it was through going to events. But actually no, let me I'll say the way I did it, and then I do think there is a pandemic version. So the way I did it was there used to be these like events. What was it called? The Product Tank was one. There was sort of meetups. This was all back in the day. So most of these things don't even exist anymore. There was a thing called Three Beards. There was an event called Don't Pitch Me Bro. I went to all these things, and through them I started slightly running into the same people, and then I got asked to be in there are these kind of formalized communities where you have to be proposed and you have to know someone and stuff to get in. So you kind of have to hang around a bit in order to kind of properly get in. But that's the pre-pandemic version. What I would do now today is I would probably use Clubhouse, because all of the founders and entrepreneurs, well, not all of them, but a lot are on that. And the ethos of a lot of the rooms on there is very much this like giving, helping. And actually about 10 or 12 of us have set up a thing called Startup Radio. And we do it all day on Saturdays, and we do a bunch of other sessions during the week. Like I did a slot from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. this morning. I was hosting Startup Radio, and the whole point of Startup Radio is to help founders, and not just founders, other people in startups too. So I would plug into that, and that a lot of definitely the people involved in that, and a lot of our friends are the community that I have been talking about.
Amazing. There we go. Top tip, folks. It knows where it's at. That'll be me.
Thanks so much, Rachel. This has been really, really fun, and thank you for your time and chatting with us today.
Thank you. This was a fun break for my day too. Thank you.